In the midst of all of the conversations that topped off 2020 and 2021 about the decade that was the 2010s era for hip-hop, the biggest conversation to arise when capping off the decade for hip-hop fans everywhere was centered around who is the rap Mount Rushmore for the decade. We all were in agreement about the legends Kendrick, Drake, and Cole, and fans would go on to argue between Future, Nicki Minaj, Kanye West, and Young Thug, amongst others, for that fourth spot in the imaginary universal top 4 list. Being the big hip-hop fan that I am, so many what-ifs would immediately come to mind in regards to who could have been in this conversation if things panned out for them. From artists who never had the classic album to show for it, to those who may have had labels holding them back, to even those who just didn't do enough commercially to be mentioned, there is a long list of great rap artists whose career may not have unfolded, luckily enough, to be mentioned amongst the big 3. One of those artists, and probably my favorite by far, is the one and only Chancelor Bennett, who you probably know as or have heard of under the name Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1993 and sort of always had it in him. He names GOATs like Michael Jackson and hometown hero Kanye West as influences in him beginning his musical journey. And about 19 years removed from his birth, he would release his debut mixtape 10 Day on April 3rd, 2012. From the very first time you lay ears on Chance's music, you feel his optimistic, warm, and oftentimes full of life energy screaming at you. There's something different about his music, and it didn't take long for music fans everywhere to pick it up, with its super genuine, happy-go-lucky style over beautiful instrumentation, best displayed on 10-day tracks like Family, and Hey Ma. Tony, that my heroes. We gon' get this paper. The album was a play on a 10-day suspension he had to serve in high school for marijuana possession, and you could tell within the album that there is a sense of high school-like vibes and adolescent references throughout, even being as blatant as one track, Prom Night, which is essentially a high school prom night anthem from Chance. Chance made it fun to listen to music in a colorful, childlike manner that hadn't really been seen before him, at least not from someone like me. The mixtape was downloaded over 400,000 times on mixtape site DatPiff and over 235,000 times on Mixtape Monkey, and would go on to not only be a pillar in Chance's discography, but the origins of a career that would go on to reach wild heights. On April 30th, 2013, about a year removed from his 10-day masterpiece, he would go on to release to this day the most classic piece of work in his catalog, the infamous and oh so incredible Acid Rap. Now, this is clearly and by far Chance's Galaxy Opal project to date, with the jazzy rap instrumentals, with the furthering of the Chi-Town sound he and contemporaries like Vic Mensa had pioneered. The mixture just made for an unbelievable soundscape that in most people's eyes topped 10 Day by a decent margin, even if 10 Day was incredible in their eyes. The album sounded just like its title, somewhat of a psychedelic acid trip in the form of raps with colorful music and druggy bars like "Lean all on a square, that's a fucking rhombus." Classic collaborations with Mensa, Twista, Absol, and Childish Gambino, amongst others, flourished, and majority of the songs did unbelievably in critiques and reviews of the project. The album debuted at number 63 on the Billboard Top R&B/Hip Hop Albums chart, mostly due to bootleg downloads on iTunes and Amazon not even affiliated with Chance himself. It would go on to be nominated for Best Mixtape at the 2013 Billboard Awards, and 6 years after, in 2019, be listed at number 84 on Pitchfork's Top 200 Albums of the Decade. Yes, as a mixtape. He would then end off his huge 2013 with a big appearance on Justin Bieber's single Confident. And by the time that record was done making waves, Chance had developed such a strong core fan base within mainstream hip-hop. But as much as this meant for Chance in his career, that's all neither here nor there, as things would really get interesting once he blasted into the mainstream world. The couple of years following Acid Rap, we'd see Chance play a role within his band The Social Experiment, releasing Surf with the band in 2015. Neo-soul vibes mixed with poetic-like rap stances made for a super interesting sound he and many producers of his would come together to create within the collective's run. And while the music wasn't bad in any sense of the word, it was definitely not parallel to Chance's solo work, and most fans like myself understood that. You could tell through the music Chance was getting closer in his relationship with God, stronger in his faith, and slowly distancing himself from the happy drug-like aura he exploded onto the scene with. And we'll circle back to that in a little bit. While we would give the music our ears simply off of our love for Chance, it didn't necessarily hit the same as his prior colorful portrait cover art classics. Entering 2016, all eyes would be on Chance to deliver his first solo offering since Acid Rap, and with so much anticipation, it was only right he would roll out his third mixtape the way he would. Before he began his personal job of rolling the project out, he would appear on his idol, Kanye West's 2016 album, The Life of Pablo, bringing a powerful verse on the intro to the project, Ultralight Beam, that further displayed not only the speculation that Chance was becoming extremely religious, but also that he was here to stay and seemingly planting the channel flag in hip-hop. I met Kanye West, I'm never going to fail. He said, let's do a good-ass job with Chance 3. I heard you gotta sell it to snatch the Grammy. He would rap with conviction over a church-like instrumental. Chance would go on to tease the world with the number 3 concept, and an image of him that seemingly is a continuation of the colorful cover art he was known for with his solo projects, leading fans to be extremely hyped for a third installment from Chance. He would release Coloring Book later in 2016, and it would go on to be the huge success his fan base expected it to be. Out of it would come some of Chance's most commercially successful work, from No Problem with 2 Chainz and Lil Wayne, to the intro All We Got with Ye. Most of his core fans saw Coloring Book as a slight drop-off from Acid Rap, but it did much better commercially, debuting at 8 on the Billboard Top 200 and selling close to 40,000 records in its first week. And he would end up following through with his promise to get that Grammy. One of the biggest things within the home stretch of the 3-album run Chance would be known for, along with his development of strong faith, was his unwillingness to sign to a label. Yeah, he did all of it independently. Maybe with some help distributing and such, we don't really know, but no official major label backing him, releasing it all under his own Chance the Rapper LLC. This became one of many testaments to who Chance would develop into the years following Acid Rap. A God-fearing man who stuck to and believed in himself even when the trend may say go elsewhere or do things a little differently. While this journey led him to hitting such a high pinnacle, it would in part be the reason for the fall he has experienced since then. Following 2016, we as fans would see Chance become more and more of one of America's favorite hip-hop sweethearts, preaching about his journey in finding and getting closer to God, and eventually really stressing the importance of family, always big-upping his daughters who were born in 2015 and 2019. The early sightings we'd had of Chance's faith becoming stronger, like on Ultralight Beam and some of his work with the Social Experiment, would finally come all the way together into a strong-willed man with a great message, and beyond just being quote-unquote the rapper. The mother of his children, Kirsten Corley, would go on to marry Chance in 2019, which would be the same year he releases his debut studio album, The Big Day. Now, this is where things get kind of wild. While The Big Day was easily Chance's biggest commercial outing, debuting at number 2 on the Billboard Top 200 and selling 108,000 copies first week, this album brought Chance's stance in hip-hop down in the public by a large margin. And I really want to discuss the actual reason why. By 2019, the newest wave had started to arrive in rap. One word used to describe what began to hit on a commercial level would be the word hard, if I had to put it or sum it up to you all in one word. Drill continued to rise, and artists like DaBaby, Lil Baby, Polo G, and 21 Savage, trap artists, just to name a few, would get closer and closer to taking over the cold Kendrick and Drake era, at least to the eyes of the demographic that largely runs the genre, at least on the internet, the kids. And while The Big Day definitely isn't on the level of his mixtapes, even musically, the album became such a laughingstock on the World Wide Web, social media, and so on, and this is largely in part of, to my estimation, the internet taking over music the way it began to in the late 2010s. The Big Day, an essentially pop rap record, which alone opposes the trend of modern-day hip-hop that hits in the new wave, mainly focuses on and plays on ideas centered around Chance's newfound appreciation of becoming a husband and being the best dad he can possibly be. While this concept doesn't sound anywhere close to a negative or bad one, this being the main thing he pushes would be a negative in the eyes of, again, the most important demographic nowadays in hip-hop, the kids. With all of the Lils releasing sliding music and artists like NBA Youngboy furthering their legacy on the web, it became harder for the trendy fans of hip-hop to appreciate the concepts Chance was pushing, as it basically is the complete opposite of fucking hoes, killing niggas, or even doing drugs like some of his early work was about. You could tell Chance really wanted to focus on pushing better messages to the public, and while of course that doesn't always result in better or worse music, it somehow did play a part, in my opinion, in the album being viewed as so bad. People began to ferociously meme Chance and his consistently self-proclaimed love for his wife. It apparently had reached a point within the culture where there's no such thing as loving the streets or murder too much, but a line must be drawn when showing appreciation to our partner in wedlock. A bit of an odd observation anyone who paid attention to the unraveling of the Big Day's internet presence play out would come to. The memes would continue and continue and continue, and the album would receive more and more hate online. It reached a point where, again, the album became a laughingstock and a joke to so many, and sadly made Chance's star power almost disappear to the eyes of mainstream hip-hop fans everywhere. While internet joke makers and Twitter fingers would continue to degrade the album to a nub, critics and music review organizations would praise the record. With generally positive reviews from just about every official publication, the album will receive a 71 out of 100 according to Metacritic, a site that composites all scores from other outlets into one aggregate score. And from a Chance fan who fell in love with his music through the first 3 mixtapes myself, I can tell you the album really isn't that bad. Rather, the culture in which he released it to has a questionable moral compass and have either grown to or been somewhat programmed to clown things like marriage, God, and family, all while begging artists like Chance to regress as a human and get back on drugs, back to fucking hoes, and back to sliding. Chance never really responded to the hate and will continue to follow what he believes to be God's plan for him in spreading the message of family importance and having some sort of faith to fall back on when all else fails. He would fade to black in terms of the mainstream hip-hop world, and The Big Day would still unfairly go down as one of the most ridiculed and hated albums in modern rap history. Fast forward to 2022, and Chance is still carrying out that daggum purpose. Not folding for the mainstream or trying too hard to give us another acid rap, rather sticking to his script and giving us records like High in the Lows with Joey Badass and Ya Know, both records that came out in 2022. I hope to see Chance continue to do what's best for him and not compromise for what the internet may want. While he may have taken a slip in terms of possibly being looked at as one of the best artists alive, or rap artists alive at least, he took a gigantic step forward in his happiness and respect for himself, and especially after the classics he's already given us, I believe that he's earned that. In conclusion, I cannot wait to see what Chance is coming with his next solo work. While I'd love to hear him return to the jazzy sounds he came up with in the early 2010s, I have no issue at all with sitting with another The Big Day if that's where Chance's heart takes him. And if it's bad, I'll be the first to admit it. But I honestly believe most, not all, but most people that hear The Big Day may not see it as even close to his best offering, but will see it as a serviceable body of work and not one of the worst albums ever, contrary to popular belief. Now, if you want more channel content, subscribe, like, and comment, and let me know. Y'all know I'll be right here covering it if he comes with a new project for us anytime in the near future. This has been Cam with Instant Classic, and that's it for this one. Deuces.